Hello, designers. This is Rebecca, and this is your assignment to making the band critique. Let's go over our specs, and then we'll get into your submissions. So for this assignment, you were to present the band branding components that you've gathered and created. I'm going to go through the checklist here. You were to submit a brainstorm list, some mind maps for your band name, album name, song titles, and a typed list of the final band name, album name, and 12 songs that you chose with no typos, a mind map for your musician persona and a mind map for your fan persona, a musician persona document, a fan persona document, a mood board, a band logo, the vector version and the version on your slideshow, your brand standard sheet, at least 4 photos of the band, and any written reflections that you had of the overall project. So let's go ahead and get into it. First up, we have Ray. Here's Ray's first mind map. Let me just make sure there we go, nice and zoomed out. Terrible. Okay, great. And here's your track list. Excellent. Here's your mind map for your persona and your fan persona. Great. All right, and here is our band member and our fan and our mood board. Looking good. Excellent. Great. Don't forget to include some colors too on your future mood boards, like a little color palette that you're thinking about. And here's your sketches for your thumbnails and the final logo. Excellent. So with this final logo, I think it turned out really nice. I love um, the swoosh coming through the end like this. I think that's really cool. I think the use of this really bold serif font is really good for the 80s hip hop era. I like the spray paint kind of splatters here, really nice. And I love the perspective of this. It's really cool. So nice color palette as well. It's like earthy and urban at the same time. So turned out great. Really fun. Really good. Fun typography there. And these was great font pairing too. Really good for the era. Really nice. Excellent. Great. And then we have our band photography. Looks good. So with the 80s, there was like kind of anything goes for the 80s. So I like the um, how their clothes are mixed from like, they're like rich and elegant look that they might have on one album cover versus like maybe this kind of schoolboy look in the middle, and then more of like a street, like casual look on the other side. So this is really great. These are some really great options that you'll get to work with through all of your different merchandise and stuff. Excellent, really great. So I think you did a fantastic job on the logo and the typography there. I love that you saw that just by warping it, it wasn't really looking maybe symmetrical enough, and the perspective was seeming off because of the difference in the shapes of the D and the A. And so you made some tweaks and changes, and now it looks fantastic. I think just the subtle hints of the spray paint on the additional elements in the logo was perfect. Um, and like leaving that text, that font in there nice and bold and crispy is just like a beautiful contrast with the spray paint. So it looks really, really nice. And I'm glad that you got a chance to like really get to know these, your fake band in a way, because that's the thing is like when we don't have a client, we're just making something up. I think it's really good to really dig deep and try to make them as real as possible. So I'm glad that that really helped you out. And I think you did a wonderful job combining um, your some elements or some inspiration from the artist that you studied. So great work. Thank you so much. Next up is Claire. So here's Claire's brainstorms and mind maps and song list. Excellent. More mind maps. Great. And our first persona. Excellent. And our mood board. Great. Be sure to also include some fonts and stuff in your future mood boards for other projects and classes. And here is our final band logo. and our branding kit here. Great. All right. So let's see, let's look at this. So this turned out pretty cool. I think it's really nice. I'm wondering if we need the texture in the logo or if it should just be solid and you can just like introduce this texture into other areas. Only because there is a lot going on with the splinters as well. So, um, yes. So I just see how it works. Like this would be great on a plain t-shirt, like with the texture in there. But I think when it's on a very heavily textured background, whether it's like a poster or an album cover or something like that, that taking the texture out of this might help it to not compete with the background. Okay, that's all I'm saying. So no need to like redo it. I'm just saying like sometimes you may just want a solid fill. Excellent. Okay, so I think that the splinters turned out really fun. They feel very thorny as opposed to splintery, but that's totally fine. And then the design in the middle is really fun because it's like kind of like a bug, but also like it could be like a good bug or a bad bug. So that's cool. And then like the symmetry of it is really nice. Great. All right. The colors are fantastic. I love this color palette. It's really good for grunge. The textures are really great as well. I don't see the texture that you used in here. Let me just make sure. Yeah. So add it to this right here. And then for the typeface, we do need a second font that's a little bit, you know, that has lowercase letters and is a little cleaner so that when it's very small, it's easy to read, like for your lyrics and stuff, and any kind of small paragraphs of type anywhere. So just a heads up on that, okay? So something complimentary with lowercase letters. And then here are your excellent photos of the band. These are great, really good. These look great. Awesome. Sorry, they're awesome. Great job. Great. So I think that the logo turned out really nice, and I'm glad that like when you hit a kind of wall on your mind mapping or your brainstorming that you just went out and did a little bit more research to kind of fill in that gap or to get you back on track. And so that was a great solution. You mentioned that this is Haley from Paramore. That turned out great. I think it looks really good. Like it's very similar to the other girl in the images. I know that with AI, it's hard to get consistent imagery. Sometimes there's some that are getting better at that, so that's good. But as for now, they're all going to work great, and I think the girl looks like any of these will work, to portray the same person and same band. I do see like a different dude back here and here than the guys who are here and here. So you might want to go in with Photoshop on this one if you want to use this for something and get rid of these dudes back here. Unless like this guy's the bass player and this guy's your lead guitarist. But I mean, unless you have two drummers, these guys are not the same. All right, thanks so much, Claire. Next up is Rebecca. And here's our first brainstorm list and mind maps and song list. More mind maps. These could be a lot more built out. And here is our first persona. Thank you for taking my advice to align left on these. Excellent. And here is our mood board. We've got a whole spectrum of colors and great. All right, fun. And here's our band logo. Okay. All right. And then here is our branding sheet. Okay. So for our colors, it's a lot of colors. I understand why, but I think that I guess I have to just kind of see the rest of the work. Like I'm seeing, a warm palette here. And I think overall, I'd like to see the warm palette with just maybe one opposite color somewhere, as opposed to, so like, maybe these five together or these four and then one color from down here. Um, and then your fonts are very fun, but there's too many psychedelic fonts in one. So we choose like one of these psychedelic fonts and then choose one complementary font that's going to work for your all of your small body copy, like all of the text on your lyric sheet, that kind of stuff. So, and make sure that that has lowercase letters in it so that it's not all caps. Okay, great. And like the fonts from here, the one that you choose for your header fonts and stuff, it does not need to be the same font that you used for your logo. So if you wanted to use something like this Lizarro for your header fonts, that's totally fine. And then the textures are great. Oh, let's look at the logo. So we have this normal one. Um, and then I love the final one with, more of the warping. I think that turned out really cute. I'm not crazy about the black in the logo. I don't think it's necessary. So what I recommend doing instead is maybe keeping your beautiful gradient that you have going through it. And then instead of that background color of black and the black throughout here, pick one of these colors to make that drop shadow color, okay? We just don't need any black fills really. It's not that like we don't see that anywhere, because we do see that in psychedelic stuff, but I don't know, I just feel like you want something super colorful, so let's steer away from the black. I also don't think you need the stroke around the letters in the front, but I'm not against it completely. Okay, let's keep going. Excellent. These photos turned out really nice. Some of them are a little creepy. Um, maybe just the house one is creeping me out, or the woods with the fog. I don't know. Um, or maybe just because they're not smiling or they're just so deadpan. But I know that these psychedelic bands, like a lot of them were very serious musicians. So, you know, that's cool. And then, but you got some really great results here, and some look very similar. I'm just kind of scanning their faces. Some of them look really different. Like this guy looks super different than this guy. And this guy, like the jean jacket guy, did not stay the same, but that's not your fault by any means. That's just the AI generator. But I think that these can definitely work for your merch and stuff. You got some really good ones here. I think my favorite is this one over here. I know it's like the plainest of them all, but I feel like the guys look the most realistic in that one. No, they're all good. I mean, they're all good. Any of them will work. Great job. Okay, let me keep going. All right. I'm so glad that you had fun with your creative freedom here and making the band. Something that I do want to mention is, okay, so this color palette of the rainbow, and then this very fun, bubbly logo doesn't match the vibe of these images here, if that makes sense. So I would picture with a palette like this, maybe some females are in the band, maybe they're like a little more, they're just like very joyful and fun. Whereas these guys seem like very serious and almost melancholy. Um, so just a heads up there, like their palette, I see that they have like these very bright, two of the guys have these very bright, like stain wash, yeah, I'm sorry, tie-dye shirts, but their color palette is so earthy, all of these images. So if you do want to use these images, then I recommend converting them to black and white in Photoshop and then giving them, one of these colors as like a tonal effect. I mean, a toning effect or two of them and do a duotone, that kind of thing. And if you don't want to do that, then I recommend pulling colors from this palette or this palette here. Not from their shirts, but from the earthiness that's going on all around here, and changing those colors in your for your branding. Either one is going to be okay. All right. Excellent. Thanks so much, Rebecca. Next up is Derek. Here's our first brainstorm and our mind map and track list. Great. And our other mind maps. Great. And our first persona. Excellent. Excellent mood board. Really fun. Very 80s. And our final logo. Yay. Turned out great. I love it. I really love the variation of the lines in the background here. Really nice. Really cool. And then we have like this wonderful negative space that's happening, and the kind of cropping of those letters looks really good. Mixing the script, like handwritten font, with the sans serif bold font in the back is lovely. And the color palette's great. Oh, and then we have, this is very fun. Really fun. Love all the effects. Really nice. Excellent. Great pairing. I love it. So you may need a third font for your body copy, that has some lowercase letter options as well. So for all the small text in your lyrics and stuff like that. But yeah, really fun color palette. I think black is part of your color palette too. So you might want to add that in there. And the fun texture style, I love it. Wonderful. We got some really good options here. Great work. These turned out awesome. Very consistent. Really great. This one's really fun. Okay. And then, so like with this one, you could convert this to black and white since your color palette changed, like shifted, you know what I mean, to a very warm sepia kind of palette. So you could convert it to black and white and put some effects on it, give it a duotone, do whatever you wanted to if you need to. Um, then, you can have that option. I'm really happy with the results as well, and I'm glad that uh, you had a lot of fun doing this. I can tell that you had fun doing it because it it really shows. It's really fun, and I think it turned out perfect. It's like very 80s, super 80s, actually. So wonderful work there. Thanks so much, Derek. All right, next up is Dean. So here's Dean's brainstorms, and our nice mind map and our track list and persona and mind maps and our personas. Great. So cute. And our mood board. I like this color palette a lot. It's really neat. I wouldn't think to have that light blue with that almost army green, and it looks really cool. I like it. All right, this turned out great. Excellent. I think it turned out great. I love it. Really good. Awesome fonts. It's excellent. I love the textures a lot. Yeah, this is really fun. So, yeah, I can't decide which one I like better, like which version. So it's great that you have some options. You could even have a horizontal version too, like if you wanted to have it be super wide, you could put airs of grief next to the skulls or before the skulls, something like that. Not that you need to, I'm just saying. If you've run into an area where you need a wide logo, there's an option too, but these are both really good. Excellent. All right. And then here they are. Oh, great. Really great. This is so great. I think that you did an awesome job on uh, your photoshopping. It's really, really good, like you said. And I also really like that color palette. And I think it does represent the the Northwest really nicely. It's really pretty, but like still grungy. You know what I mean? It's awesome. You did an awesome job. Really wonderful. Thank you so much. Next up is Eric. So here's the brainstorm. Maggots in the drainage system. Great. And our mind map and list. Excellent. And persona mind maps. And here's our first persona. And our next persona. Excellent. Here's our mood board. Ooh, very grungy and dark. Silent Hill is the best. All right, and here is our logo. Great. And here's our uh, standard sheet. Really fun. You're so fun. Look at how you laid out these colors. I love it. Great textures. The rust and grit is very nice. I love these fonts so much together. I don't think we need so many. Like, I don't know if we need Sitka. I think typewriter is going to work nicely, or either one of those is going to be good. Um, so with the logo, let's just go back. Like, I don't know if you need the crackle or if it could. mm, I just don't know. I love the drawing though. I mean, that drawing is so great. I love all the different textures in it, like this texture here and this one here, like the different brushes that you use. And then we've got these kind of drippy. It's really cool. It reminds me a lot of like scary stories to tell in the dark art, which is some of the best drawing in the world. And then, but I do love what you did with your all your letters, the different sizing and the changing of their, baseline and stuff. I think it turned out really cool. Um, yeah, I really like it a lot. So the only thing is, this stuff is left aligned right here, and I do think it could be centered. This S kind of sticking way over the edge like that. Um, and same with the bug, like this part is sticking way out over here, but like shifted over here. Not that it needs to be perfectly centered, but I'm not sure if you're aware of that it's happening, but I do think the letters should be centered. I know. What would Carson say? He would say that I need to just chill out. All right, so here is your band photos. These are great. So just when you are in Photoshop messing with this stuff and you're trying to put things together, I just want you to pay attention to your contrast and kind of like your white values. So um, part of this, I'm sure, is definitely intentional, like the blowout in this photo. But like these three photos seem like they should be similar, whereas their skin tones do look like a very similar middle gray. His jacket, this photo here, I don't really see any true black up here in his head. I do see it in the keyboard, but whereas his hair gets lost in the shadows, and same with up here like this, I want to see that same thing happening over here. So if you need to dodge the face a little bit to get the grays to stay the same or consistent, that's okay. Uh, but see, he doesn't even have any real dark shadows like in his lips and stuff either. So I do think this photo needs to be a little darker. And then just notice like the washout of this photo, like how gray it is. There's absolutely no true black in that. Even this part back here that's very dark is not true black. And then same with this photo. We've got true black down here, maybe back here, but once again, he's very grayed out. I don't know why this boy is grayed out, but he is in both pictures. So just keep that in mind. You know what I mean? I think it's okay, like when you're layering like this, can see why these guys might be a little more gray in the background because, everything would be kind of, really, there there would be so much of the same, density everywhere that it would be like hard to separate them a bit visually, but yeah, I think you understand what I'm trying to get at here. I'm so glad that you had fun and you were very excited about getting started on this. Um, I love that. I love it so much. I think you did hit the Silent Hill aesthetic very nicely. Uh, the and I'm also glad that you got the opportunity to like dig into her persona. I found that when I create for a client, um, that I will create customer personas based on what they tell me, my target audiences, and then that really helps me stay focused. It also helps me with the client when they're like, "Oh, but my favorite color is blue," and I'm like, "Well, listen, this is hard to hear, but it's not. We're not designing this for your liking. We're designing this for your customer's liking. So for your ideal customer, if you want them to like this and this, then we gotta go with this color instead, that kind of thing. Um, so yeah, so it's definitely a good practice to keep going with. And I do the persona in this class because we're using made up people. And so when we make up the personas, then it really helps us to really focus a little bit more and be more intentional with our design. All right, excellent work. Thank you so much, Eric. Next up is Tagarn. And here's our brainstorms. Great. Awesome. Mind maps. Awesome. And our list. And more great mind mapping. Excellent. Here's our first persona and our other persona. All right. And our mood board. Ooh, lovely. This is really great. Excellent. Here's our logo. Really cool. So funky. I love this color palette. Really great. Really fun textures. This is cool too, these options. Ooh, so 70s. Oh my God, that font is so perfect. Let me go back to the big picture here. So I love this that's happening here. Ooh, you better stop. I love it. I love all of this. Oh my God, I love this. This is fantastic. This is such 70s goodness. This is gorgeous. Look at this lining up all perfectly. This is very nice. I'm very excited about this. I'm feeling so much nostalgia right now. Like I can barely contain myself. So whenever I go to Disney and I see some 70s goodness at Epcot Center, I'm like losing my mind. And this is what this is making me feel like. So thank you. Thank you for that. I think it turned out beautiful. I love all of the details, like this perfect line right here for your cat or your ascender height is lovely. I love the mirroring that's happening right here. This is so nice. I love this. Phew, that's so cool. I love like the consistent spacing is really pretty. All of your kerning is perfection. This is so rad. I love it. There are so many amazing details. I'm so stoked. Okay. And then because you have such a perfect structure right here, it makes all this just easy peasy. You know what I mean? Like you can easily interchange all of this and there's no issues. So that's really great. Very cool. The change in thickness right here is so interesting. I love it. I think it's really cool. It's neat. Really nice stuff. And I'm just looking at your fonts here. Okay, that works. Yeah, I think that looks great with the thin versus the medium versus, I guess that's a bold, huh? Is it a bold? Great. All right. And here are our band members. They're so young. They look like babies. I feel like, 70s punk bands were all like older people, but maybe it's just because they seemed older than me. Great, they're so cute. I love this. All right. I really love this concept, and I think that uh, I like how you're kind of um, keeping it as a metaphor. I think it's really beautiful, and I think that your logo does sort of have this feeling of like movement that could, be like a process of the recycling in a way, you know what I mean? Or of it, like an object being moved through, different phases, if that makes any sense. I'm trying to spit it out. Um, as far as these photos go, so uh, they don't feel very 70s. So what you could do is, if you wanted to, you could kind of feed these photos into an AI generator and see if they can transform these people to look more 70s, um, whether it be their clothes, their hairstyles, the background, that kind of things. Uh, like this guy right here is not looking 70s at all to me, but, and, um, just, yeah. So just a heads up there, if you could, and then maybe you could even produce some group photos, but you don't have to use AI. So that's the only thing, but everything else is great. Thank you so much. All right, next up is Kylie. And here's Kylie's brainstorming and some mind maps and our band names and song titles. Excellent. And more mind maps and our first persona and our second persona and our mood board. All right, great, great, great. All right, and the logo. Okay, and our branding. All right. Okay, so let me come on back over here. So I'm seeing some 70s goodness for sure, like these kind of echoes. They're like drop shadows that are echoes in a way, like plow, 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 plow. That's very 70s. Um, and I think I love the persimmon coming up behind it. Um, the word power, I'm wondering if you need this dark stroke on the inside. You know what I mean? If you wouldn't, if you would consider maybe one of these greens, like this middle green, instead of the dark color, just to kind of help with your color balance and just experiment with it. Maybe even this darkest green. Maybe that's the color you already have there, actually. Okay. Um, so that's one thing. These lines over here, do we need them? It does help with the shape. What I'd like to, this part right here is just feeling disconnected, the word persimmon. Let me go back in and look at your fonts for a second. So is that the Ducky font? Okay. Oh, sorry. So the Ducky font does have lowercase letters. So what I'm wondering is if you would try the lowercase letters, and then if there's a way to really fill in this space all the way across the persimmon, you could leave these lines and have your N end here. But you could also try it without those lines and have the word persimmon cover the whole thing. If it doesn't look right, because I don't think this font reads very well with all caps or small caps, um, it just doesn't feel like that's how what that font was designed to do. You know, it's almost like when you take a script font and you spread out your tracking, and script fonts are meant to touch each other and connect. And that's what this font wants to do. It wants to connect. So when it's all capital letters, that doesn't happen, right? So if that doesn't work, uh, sorry, I keep jumping. If it doesn't work with the lowercase letters stretching across and like warping to this shape a bit, then I recommend using the Ziglet or Ziglet font and just squeezing that in there. Um, I think it'll look really cool, but it's easy for me to say because I'm not making it myself. So I get it. But yeah, that's the only part that's really feeling digital. You know what I mean? Everything else is looking very 70s, very stylized and cool. So there's that. Then the whatever you end up doing with that word persimmon, obviously you do it over here too. And then this is a really fun little illustration. So I think that works. I like the rough pastel idea. I think your color palette is it's a lot. It's a lot of colors. Um, they're great colors though. So I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna leave that. I'm fine with that. This is incredible. This turned out great. Really cute. I love it. These are so fun. Great. I'm so glad you had fun doing this. And I'm glad that like the only part that was really tough was the coming up with the names. So that's great. Once you come up with that, then you're ready to go. And I think it turned out really fun. So um yeah, great job. Thank you. Next up is Nick. All right, there we go. Here's our brainstorming and our mind map and our list. Excellent. More brainstorming. I'm sorry, more mind maps. And here's our first persona. I think you can get into a little more detail with your personas. These turned out really cool. This is good. Great. Great. All right. So, yeah, I love all this. This is an awesome color palette, and I think these fonts look good together. I think you could, with that, with the Futura, I wonder if you could like add some scratchy texture to it. You know what I mean? To kind of, um, so Futura is like a very 50s font. And so we're getting into the 70s now, and the 70s were like, we don't want your 50s militant, bah, you know what I mean? And I kind of get that feeling from your branding as well. So, like, if there's a way to kind of like scratch it, you know, or something to make it feel like it's like just getting a little grittier, you know, I think that'd be cool. The this military style font, though, I think that's great the way it is. So, with your logo, I am wondering if you attempted to kind of warp it at all, not warp it, but like move things around a little bit because, well, I love the Xerox effect of the safety pin. It turned out really nice. I love this font with it. There's just a few things. So if you were to kind of like maybe try typing on a path, like trace the shape of this and then drop that path down and then let the Vivians kind of go along that path. That's one way to do it. You could also use the type tool and just adjust, you know, where these guys lie and just kind of just jumble them up just a bit. You know what I mean? Almost like they are a stencil that you are placing each letter as an individual stencil as opposed to a stencil that is all one word punched out and you're just spraying it across, if that makes sense. The other thing you could do is, I think I saw this on your sketches, but maybe try to make a capital, like a bigger V, just for the first V. So one of the other, you know, methods there. But other than that, I think it turned out really nice. I love it. Great fun. Okay, great. These are great pictures. Awesome. That looks like Chrissy Hines. I wonder if that's her. These are great. Yeah, I think you're right, like playing with the hierarchy a bit more. Uh, but it's okay. I mean, it's a simple logo and that's perfect for this genre. Um, Feeling repetitive in your brainstorming is totally okay. You know what I mean? It's like you got to just get it out of there and then you'll unlock less repetitive ideas eventually by just keeping grinding for just a few more minutes and the brainstorming, you know? But overall, I think it's very punky and it turned out excellent. Thank you. All right, next up is Yuki. Here's Yuki's brainstorms and the mind map. Oh, nice. And the song titles and band name. Excellent. Oh, these mind maps are cool. Great. And here's our first persona and our second persona. Great photos. All right, and here's our mood board. Lovely. Very punchy color palette. This turned out great. Really nice. Whew, that color palette is so punchy. I'm gonna keep going though. Let me see. Fun. These are cool. Oh, I love it. Okay, so here is what I'm wondering. If you've already created like you're very far along on your album cover, then I don't want you to, make changes at this point. But so with your logo, it's gorgeous. I love it very much. It's super psychedelic. It's lovely. This is reading more as an O. So I'm wondering if you will consider dropping this down and creating just a little bit more of a D shape like you did with this R, like giving it a little bit more of a corner tweak like that. Uh, just for that, just for the D. Like it doesn't have to come way down. If you want to keep it fat, that's okay. But what I do want is a little bit more of like a um, straight, straightish line like you have on the R here, in the eye of that D. That's it. Everything else, that'll just help it read as a D a little bit more. Then for your color palette, first of all, I love the textures. This is gorgeous. I think your fonts are fantastic. I think we can even get rid of this active grotesque, but it just depends on how this reads small. It looks like the Scala Pro is gonna look really nice small. It'll be fine, but if you've already laid out like all your lyrics in the active, then that's totally fine. Okay, as far as your color palette, I think it's a little too wild, like it's a little too electric, whereas these color palettes are very beautiful. So if you would consider kind of toning these down, like the middle colors are okay, even the yellow. It's these two colors that are just like blah, and it might just be because they're on a screen. So if you would consider choosing more of a magenta pink or this like softer pink here, and for that aqua color, I mean, this color is sick in the van there, or even, you know, something I can't tell. Yeah, like just tone down, add a little more gray to it or something. I think would be really nice. Okay. Well, I'm glad you got a chance to play with the AI, and I think you did get a really good result with that. And then I think I addressed the color thing. Um, I don't think you need black at all either. I know you want to keep it bright and psychedelic, which is totally cool. But at the same time, um, I like the idea of the like a dragon-ish color palette. And I think that color palettes turned out really nice in all of these photos. So just leaning a little bit more towards these colors um, will be really successful. Yeah, I really think it's just those two colors, plus you don't need black. Well, this blue is pretty punchy too, now that I see it. So maybe a darker blue would be nice. Um, yeah, I think you can still have beautiful, vibrant color without it being like uh, neon. You know what I mean? Excellent. Thanks so much, Yuki. All right, next up is Deanna. And here is some brainstorming and our first mind map with our list and our other brainstorming, I mean, sorry, other mind maps and our first persona. Great, lots of details, good. And our fan persona. I swear I know that girl in that picture. I don't, but, and here is our really fun mood board. These are good finds, great job. And here is our logo. And then let me just keep going to here. Okay, great. So I think the color palette is wonderful. And yeah, I think these are great fonts. You might consider finding a font with lowercase letters in them as you're doing your lyric layout and stuff with lots of text. Just if you need one, if you're seeing that your, font pairing isn't doing the right thing, that might be why. So just a heads up there. But they're both beautiful fonts. And then I love these textures. Yeah, really great. I do see a pink in here. So just a heads up, that's part of your color palette. So as far as this goes, I'm wondering if you would consider maybe if, well, I don't know if you're going to use the black and white one. Uh, if you do, maybe make the pig white instead of a lighter gray so that his nose can be light gray. And then that's it. That's the only change I recommend there. Uh, but I think it turned out cool. I love the like double outlines that you created. I think it's really neat with the yellow outline and the black outline and then like the red bleeding past it. It's a really fun effect there. And then like I'm seeing like triple outlines in some spots. It's really neat. And then the perspective that you have here is really cool. The pig drawing is fantastic. I love it. I love I love the color one definitely more than the black and white one because I love the red on the eyes. The yellow of the pig is really cool. It just turned out really nice. So great illustration, great hand drawn fonts. It's really fun, really cool. And then here's our band photos. Great, great. All right. I love this research on Seattle and this golden piggy bank thing. I love it. That makes so much sense as to why the pig is yellow. I love that. That's really fun. It's like a little inside joke or like sort of Easter egg for Seattle locals. Um, and it's also just an awesome icon that I could see people getting tattooed on their bodies. So that's really great too. That's success right there. Um, yeah, and like I love some primary colors together as complementary colors. I think that you can never go wrong with primary colors together. So this is really lovely. And yeah, it worked out great. Excellent work, Deanna. Thank you. Next up is Riley. And here's Riley's brainstorming and mind map. Great mind map. Woo! And our list. Fun. And more great mind maps. Yes. You know what I like now. And here's our first persona and our second persona. Cute. And our mood board. Great finds. These are cool. I love this. I love Susie and the Banshees. Oh my gosh. Okay. And then here's our band logo. This turned out cool. I love that. All right. Okay. So hold on. Wah, wah, wah. These textures are a blast. So your font, oh good. Okay. Calder does have lowercase letters, so that's nice. This is a really fun palette. All right. So I love these. This part right here, the S would be here, just a heads up. It would break effervesce, and then ence would be below it. Or you could say effervescence would be the other place that it would break, and then people. And then I think effer and then vescence would be better, just aligned different, because of the amount of letters for alignment, it would look better. I love this so much. Let me get back to the big one. These kind of bleeding together, that is really nice. I love that effect. I think it looks way cool and it looked really nice on here. I don't think you need this circle with the gradient in the background, at least the way it is. The going from the yellow to the green, it's getting a little muddy back there behind that magenta. So I don't know. I just don't think you need it because it doesn't feel like anything else in the rest of this logo, if that makes sense. It's a very crispy shape, and there's no other gradients. You know what I mean? Um, yeah, I don't think you need it. I think the EP stands really nicely on its own. If you wanted more emphasis, you could do just another yellow EP behind it and shift it, or change the scale of it in the background or something like that. But I don't even know if you need that. I think the EP on its own is very strong and very cool. Really nice. I love all the jumbling in the letters. It's great. It's so simple and so good. I love it. And then here's our lovely band members. Great. Okay. All right. All right. I like that we have this like goth dude back there. It's kind of like a metal dude. And then they're so eclectic. We've got like an adamant pirate guy. We've got her looking strong and powerful and then gorgeous. We've got this guy. I love it. It's so 80s because that's what the 80s were like. Every member of the band was a little bit different, brought their own unique stuff to the band. I think it's great. So excellent. And these are going to look really cool when you add like all these fun textures and stuff. It's going to be really nice. All right. So I remember now that you did have sketches with the bubbles and stuff in it, and I think maybe that's why you included this circle in the background. But not necessary. And I think, like you said, you were going to add some texture later, and that will work. And um, our color palette in these images is not quite the same as this, that punchy pink and no yellows. But that's something that you could, if you wanted to turn these into grayscale, or not grayscale, if you want to turn these into black and white, and then you could add some hand coloring, you could do some duotone effects or just toning effects with some colors from your palette. That green is in the same family as a lot of these tones, like this velvety color um, and stuff, but the yellow and pink obviously are not. So if you wanted to make the band members be more effervescent and like fun, then I think adding these two colors specifically um, via photo manipulation, that will help with that. Here they're very serious because the color palette is kind of moody. You know what I mean? Excellent. All right. Well, thank you so much. All right. Next is Eileen. So here's our brainstorming list and our little mind map. I think you could get deeper and deeper on these mind maps. Just a heads up here. And here is our list. Excellent. And same with on these personas. Lovely personas. All right, and here's our band. Great, great photos. Awesome. The texture, like the film grain, looks really good on that. All right, so here's our mood board. Don't forget to like add color palettes to your mood boards too. And here's our logo sketches. Great. I love that sketch. Excellent. And here's our vector. It turned out great. This is great. All right, and a really fun palette. I love the textures. All right. Okay, so we will need a second font that is going to read at a small scale in paragraphs. So you'll need something with some lowercase letters and that will be a nice pairing with this Synthemesque. Don't make me say it. Synthemesque. I think that's how we pronounce it. Font. And then this is just so fun. I love that you traced, not traced, but you went along with the arc of this third eye here, and it all feels very hand done, even though I know this font comes from this, but it was a great font pick. And it's super fun. I love it. I love this sketch with the two noses and the three eyes. The little tongue is too much. It's so funny. I love it very much. It turned out great. It's really cool. Really cool. And then I'm just looking at these again real fast. Yeah, it's awesome. I do like how this text is a little closer to the chin on, maybe that's it. If you could pull the R and the O up just a bit closer to the chin, or pull the G, I'm sorry, the F and the G down a little bit. Like the spacing is really nice up here, but we have a little bit of uneven spacing. That's the only thing I see there. And then you may need to go with, nope, I'm good. Yeah, I don't see any black in your color palette, and I don't think you need any black, so just a heads up on there. All right, excellent. Yeah, so I know there's like a lot of really building in this assignment, and that's just going to make it so all the rest of the assignments, there's no hurdles there, as far as like, well, I'm not sure like where to start. You've already started, and you have such a strong foundation now for your band and your ideas, that part, and now that your branding is done, all your colors are figured out, your fonts are figured out, that stuff is is all taken care of. Because you know how long it can take, like looking through fonts and figuring out color palettes and that kind of stuff. Um, so yes, the other assignment shouldn't take as long. Secondly, in the real world, you won't need to make up things like this. Like other people are going to come up with the name of the business, or they're going to already have like real people that you can model the personas after, that kind of thing. Sometimes people will actually have like real data of what their customers are like. So you can use that information as well. So all these graphic design classes where we have to make up our own product, make up our own business, um, that's just not really what the real world is like. And so that's why I'm like um, trying to help you hone those down so that you can really just focus on the design from this point forward. All right. Excellent work. Thank you so much. And next up is Cynthia. Here's your brainstorming. And here's our mind maps and our list and our persona mind maps and our musician persona, fan persona, and our mood board. Really nice. All right. And our band logo And our fonts, color palette, okay, and awesome textures. And here's our band. Great. All right. All right. So I had to go back and see which genre you chose because I got a little confused by the mention of grunge, punk, new wave era. Um, there was no grunge back then. So I was like getting confused for a second. Okay. So you are in the new wave era, but I think you're leaning more towards punk bands of the new wave era. I mean, I'm sorry, bands that started off punk and turned converted to new wave. So your new waveness that you are portraying for this band is on the punk side as opposed to on like the clean poppy side of new wave. All right. With that being said, you had mentioned something about your logo being a bit plain. I don't think it's a bit plain. I think it's cool with the font. What I do think you could do, though, to add some 80s-ness to it even more is like you could add some, like a little, some lines in here, you know what I mean, in this part. Or you can do some repetition of this line a couple times, something like that. Um, just something to like it is very geometric but kind of flat at the same time. And I feel like 80s new wave bands took their logos to like the next, kind of kicked it up a bit when were decorative like this. If it was just like the Human League, that's just like, Helvetica, bold, and that's it, that's one thing, but that's not what you're doing here. So I think that you could have one more level of fun with this logo by adding just a few more geometric elements to it. It doesn't need much more, it's already very, very fun and cool. Just that's what I'm saying. So I do love what you did here with like these ligatures, this ligature that you made, and having some fun with this S is great. Having fun with the M as well. With this part, with this side of the letter, I would have it come down at the same angle as this. I mean, it's nice that it mimics the B, but I think that it could go and it would look even more kind of angular. Okay. And then your color palette is very fun. I see it here. I'm not seeing like where this kind of periwinkle color will quite fit in. So I do recommend changing that, figuring out if you want to go more magenta or purple, or if you want, I don't think you need another blue. All right, cool, great. And then I would veer away from a grunge texture and something more, um, maybe electronic, or I think it's okay to have a scratchy, punky texture. Just if you're looking for textures, don't pull from grunge. That's a little bit later in, yeah, it's like in the 90s, okay? All right. Excellent. Thank you so much. Great job, everybody. Way to go.